Welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute devotional podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse. Broadcast from the ever-beautiful Sharonville, Ohio, on the sunny side of Cincinnati. Welcome back, friends. You found it. This is your home for artisanal, organic, and, well, it's just good for you Bible study. That's just all we can say here. It's 5 minutes a day, 5 days a week, studying the Psalms verse by verse. Daily Dose Radio. So glad you could join me today. We're looking at verses 7 and 8 in Psalm 3. Psalm 3 has been a great one. Started out with the enemies and what they had to say about David. And then we get to hear from David, verses 3 through 6. And now we're going to see also verses 7 and 8, something that David is now going to say to the Lord again. He's been speaking to us, I think. He's telling us what he's going to do. I will call out, I will lay down, sleep, I will awaken. I will not be afraid of the many peoples, though they set themselves around me. And then he says in verses 7 and 8, let me read those for you today. Rise up, O Lord, save me, O my God. For you have smitten the cheek of all my enemies. You have shattered the teeth of the wicked. Salvation is of the Lord. May your blessings be upon your people. Selah. Well, there's the Selah again. We've had two now. So the first one here in between 2 and 3. The second one now here to end the psalm in verse 8. Rise up, O Lord, save me, O my God. You notice how salvation plays an important role in these last two verses. We have it in verse 7 and in verse 8. Remember, that was the subject of what the people said about David. In God, for him, there is no salvation, or some of your translations will have deliverance. Oh, and by the way, if you want to see my translation, go to my-dailydose.com. You'll find it right there in the Daily Devotions Plus drop-down box. Just click on the link for Psalm 3, and you'll get a PDF file, and you'll have it right there for you. You can review it. A lot of translations will have, instead of there is no salvation, they'll say there is no deliverance, which is a fine translation. I have no problem with that. I just like to see this word salvation because he uses it again so much here in 7 and 8. I want to see the connection. So in 2, I'm going to translate that salvation instead of deliverance, because down here in 7 and in 8, this is what David is talking about. Save me. This is, we can translate that deliver me, but I just prefer save me because we understand that too. It's a nice, shorter translation of the word, and I think it delivers the intent. Save me, O my God. Salvation is of the Lord. They said there's no salvation for him. In God, for him there is no salvation. Those were their words. Now David comes back and says, oh yeah, there is. Because salvation is of the Lord. You cannot determine who God will save. He will do that, his saving work himself. And so David just says, Lord, rise up and save me. And you've smitten the cheek, notice verse 7, of all my enemies. You have shattered the teeth of the wicked. You remember that we had a shattering verb back here in Psalm 2. You remember that? The Messiah was being talked about. He was going to break them with a scepter of iron like vessels of the potter. They would be shattered. That was verse 9 of Psalm 2. And here we have shattering again. So the Lord who's doing the shattering here, well, how's he doing that? Perhaps he's got that rod of iron still in his hand. And shattering the teeth of the wicked with that rod of iron would not be a hard thing to do. Salvation is of the Lord. It's always, always, and forever in his hand. And then David ends this third psalm with this statement, may your blessings be upon your people. So the wicked have established themselves outside of the blessing of God. The enemies have increased, they've risen up, they say of my soul, we have that statement. And then he says, now, Lord, smite the cheek of my enemies, the teeth of the wicked. So David is connecting now these enemies of his, because they're enemies of faith, so they're enemies of the Lord. He says, smite them, shatter their teeth. May your blessing be upon your people. He's drawing a distinction now between the wicked and God's people, which is what we had in Psalm 1, and we will continue to have that division described and declared for us throughout the Psalter. I hope you'll join me again next week. We'll look at Psalm 4, on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. I'm David Smith. The music today has been performed by the Bluegrass Experiment. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time on Daily Dose Radio.